The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we encourage you to like and share them on Facebook because it's time for the African American Scene, presented each week at this time by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. I would like to first start this show on a very somber note. Our longtime city manager in Port St. Lucie, Don Cooper, has passed. It was my pleasure to have gotten to know him pretty well. And in fact, for the police chief, he asked me to sit on the panel, and I helped to interview and hire the police chief initially. He was as smart a guy as I have ever had the chance to encounter, just absolutely smart as the devil. So my respects to Don Cooper's family, and I hope you rest in peace, my friend. Okay, I had a kind of a tough week. And he may be listening tonight, but a guy that I liked and we had a relationship for just about 2 years imploded this week because he was trying to sell me on a bunch of hockey puck, and and he knew me well enough to know that all that does is just piss me off. And eventually the dialogue got so heated that we both ended up unfriending each other. But I think I share that story with you just to let you know how ugly the environment is. And basically, it imploded over him trying to sell me on two false narratives. They were absolutely false. But be that as it may, it was best that it end because it had really gotten ugly. Me calling him names and he calling me names, and I don't like to go there, but that's the way it got. Well, last night we had the Democratic debate, and we're going to have open mic night tonight. So if you would like to call up and respond to that, I certainly welcome your feedback. I will give you a couple of topics for tonight. Cliff already gave you one. What I do, for those of you that don't follow me, the day before, Monday or Tuesday, I will come up with a question that I think I'm going to ask on the radio show on Wednesday and throw it out to my Facebook audience and see what kind of response I get. And frequently I take some of those responses and I use them on the show here on Wednesday night. And the thought that I threw out the other day was, should we do away with the Electoral College? And we've got a big response, and I don't think I had one no. I had all yeses. Now, I know there's a conservative out there that's listening and saying, we're a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. That's the classic, time-tested, conservative argument for not doing away with the Electoral College. But let me give you this thought. From elementary through high school, through college, through Congress, everything is majority vote. The only thing in this country that is not majority vote is president. Somehow, some way, That seems to me to be problematic. Now, now, if you want to call in, I know there's some of you that are about ready to kill me, and it's all right because I can take it. I'm 6 feet tall, 260 pounds, so swing away. The idea that people are being shortchanged if you go with the majority vote, I reject that argument. And I don't reject it on a political basis, contrary to what most of you are probably thinking. I reject that argument because I think when they developed the Constitution and they allowed for 2 senators in every state, that was kind of an offset. Because if you think about, let's take a state like South Dakota or North Dakota. The population of the state is less people than New York City. And they have 2 senators. And the Senate is the deliberative body responsible for the most important decisions that are made in Congress. So that little state gets 2 votes. Rhode Island gets 2 votes. Now, why do I think, and again, 340-1590, 340-1590. So why do I think that the Electoral College is a problem? Let me tell you why. You are concerned that small states will be shut out of the process and not have a say-so. Well, by virtue of their Senate representation, they will have a say-so in equal part to every state in the United States. Here's what's not equal. The amount of money that states contribute to the federal government for the upkeep of our country is so disjointed. For example, I think the number one contributor is California with $1,333,000, somewhere thereabouts. They, I think next is New York with $1,200,000 and something million. And I think fourth is Florida. Now, when you go all the way down to like West Virginia, it is in the neighborhood of 237 million versus $1 billion. So my question to you, and this is part of what blew up my associate and I's relationship, you have to justify why the people of California have to take a backseat to the people of North Dakota who make a very minute contribution to the government. Because now let's keep in mind, our country is taken care of by the tax dollars it collects. So if my state gives you much, much more money than a smaller state, and then you tell me you want to diminish my impact on the vote because you say it's unfair, well, I think it's unfair that my state gives you that amount of money and you want to put it on par with a state that pays 1/10, listen, 1/10 of what my state pays. Now, if you have an argument, please at least do me the favor. I can accept an argument that makes sense, but please don't call up here and give me conservative talking points. Call me up, give me some logic for why you think it should stay the way it is. I just gave you my logic for why I think it needs to change and how I feel the Constitution allowed for an offset by putting 2 senators from every state. I think you're hard-pressed to argue with that if you're in Rhode Island and you got 2 senators, and California has 2 senators, and New York has 2 senators, North Dakota has 2 senators. There's a little bit of a balancing effect there because those senators in those smaller states have the ability to potentially block particular legislation. Okay. Again, that number is 340-1590. Here's another bugaboo of mine. And I welcome, again, your input. How can Medicare be an entitlement? When they passed that tax bill, I told a very close friend of mine, I said, you know what's next, right? He said, well, what are you talking about? I said, now that they've squandered all the tax dollars, taken them out of the system, they're going to come back and say that we have to take away money from entitlements. But now, I want you to think about this for a second. How can something be an entitlement you paid for? Hello? Hello? How can something be an entitlement that you paid for? When I went to get my Social Security, it just tells you how old I am, they had my work records from 13 when I had to have a working permit to have my first job. I had been paying Social Security taxes since I was 13 years old. So tell me now, is that an entitlement? Did I pay for that? Cliff, did I pay for that?
That was an investment. which will be kicking in for too long now.
Yeah. So the point is, stop being hoodwinked by the conservative jargon entitlements. If you want to call Medicaid an entitlement, okay. I still think we have, by virtue of the need to have humanity in our country, that we should do that. But I could say Medicaid is an entitlement. I won't argue that with you. But don't tell me Medicare is entitlement. It is not an entitlement. You paid for it. Okay? Again, the number's 340-1590. So, what was your thought about the debate last night? I thought it was kind of interesting. But one of the things that came up last night was health care. And that keeps coming up all the time. Health care, health care, health care. And we know we need to do something about it, but the question is just what? And my conservative friends think we should do nothing. And I disagree with that completely. When we can spend $770 billion on defense, we can find some money to provide health care for our people. Now, I want you to get a pencil and a piece of paper, and I want you to write this down. There's a book called Deadly Spin by Wendell Potter. Deadly Spin by Wendell Potter. Wendell Potter is a former corporate communication executive for a major health insurer, and I won't say which one because I don't think that would be right.
You have a caller.
On line one?
His name is Kurt.
Okay. Yes, sir. How are you?
Hey, Rudy. Good to talk to you again. The last couple of weeks I've been laying low, and I was going to call you last week, and I think accuse you of getting in line and drinking the Kool-Aid. But tonight you're talking about something that I think is on the minds of a lot of people, and that is health insurance and Medicare.
Okay.
What I want to ask these people in Washington, Republican and Democrat, is when they're going to pay back the $750 billion that they took from the Social Security and Medicare fund and haven't paid back.
Good question.
I'd like to, and they're all talking about health care and giving everybody health care. And I think we've talked about this before, Rudy. I don't have a problem giving health care to the people that deserve it. I'm talking American citizens or people that are in this country legally.
Okay.
I don't think we should be giving out Medicare or Medicaid to people sneaking across our border that are not here legally. But the one thing that really gets me is they all talking about health care. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Elizabeth Warren conveniently last night dodged the question of how we were going to pay for it. And the other thing that worries me is the fact that what are we going to do if we start giving this, all out? And I don't have a problem if they want to give out health care and they want to make it affordable for every human being on the planet, in the United States. But I want to know if they're going to be willing to be on the same plan that you and I have to live under.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay. All right.
Well, you know their health plan is a Cadillac plan.
It A+.
And not only that, we're subsidizing it.
That's correct.
And they're making $174,000 a year.
That's correct.
And they're all millionaires several times over.
That's pretty much
Bernie
true.
Bernie Sanders starts screaming about, he wants this and he wants that, but he owns 3 houses and he's worth several $1 million. Okay, you're going to be under the same plan that you and I have to be under, and you're not going to make a.
I don't think Bernie would object to that. I don't think Warren would object to that.
I think they do. They want us to live under what they want, but they're not willing to do it themselves. Guaranteed, they will not live under that plan.
I would bet my right arm that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders would be willing to live by that same plan that they're offering for us under the Medicare for All. I am as sure of that as I am of anything.
Well, if they're going to walk, they need to do something to convince the American people that they mean. Too many, Rudy, most people in this country are totally fed up with the shenanigans that are going on in Washington, D.C., not just with the Democrats, but with the Republicans.
I agree.
For almost 3 years now, they've been trying to bring Trump down. And they've come up with a big zip, a nada. And every time they get egg thrown in their face on one thing, they go to another. Let's get some practical stuff done in this country.
Well,
they're running around the country campaigning. I'd like to ask them a question. I'd like to ask Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and that idiot, feeble-minded beta male, whatever the hell his name is. I'd like to ask him a question. Are you drawing a salary while you're running around the country campaigning?
The answer to that is no.
Yes, they are drawing a salary.
Beto O'Rourke is not in that seat anymore.
Oh, okay, he isn't. But Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are.
Yeah,
And,
yes, they
and
are.
what's her name? That Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard's from Hawaii. She's drawing a salary, and they're running around the company campaigning on our dime. I don't think that's right.
All right. Well, sir, thank you for your call. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got Brian on line 3. Brian?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I heard you talking earlier. You said that you basically lost a good friendship that you had over a disagreement. And, I just wanted to call in and say I'm sorry that happened to you. I wish that we could have a more civil discourse and agree to disagree over things a little bit better than what we do now. I get into discussions or debates with people, in person and online, and I've been met with some crazy aggression for no reason. Some people don't even know me, never met me, and calling me names and all that. And it's
Right.
like, why can't we just have a disagreement and not wind up losing friendships about it and all that stuff? Because, the people that we argue about, I'm a conservative and all that, but I know for a fact that President Trump and all the other conservatives or whoever I may throw my support behind, they won't lose a wink of sleep over me if I were to disappear, And so
I tried to talk about that last week, Brian. And one of my subjects last week, I brought up Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia. I think that is just a marvelous example. You have polar opposites. Ginsburg's all the way to the left and Scalia was all the way to the right, and they were best friends.
Yes.
But you know why? It was not based on bull crap. No conspiracy theories, no garbage throwing, empty statements that can't be supported. Their relationship wasn't built. How do you build a relationship if you're trying to have a dialogue with somebody? At one time, I negotiated large bodily injury cases way back in my life when I was a claim manager and adjuster and all of that. One of the first things you do when you enter a negotiation is you try to come to some agreement on the facts.
Yeah.
Once you agree on the facts, then you try to negotiate the numbers. And you can have a lot of disagreement about what the right number is, but if you got the facts, then you have a basis upon which to develop further dialogue. What we have now is you can't even get to the facts because people refuse to accept facts.
Yeah.
How do you have a discussion? I found out recently, one of my neighbors, who I happen to think very highly of, that he was a conservative. And he said to me, I'm a conservative, but he said, I don't believe in having these discussions not based on facts. I said, oh my God. He said, no, I don't like that. I said, okay. So in my opinion, Brian, not to be preachy, to have to be able to overcome your differences, you have to first start on a basis of facts. Now, philosophies, you can differ. You can negotiate those. My process and my thought of how this should be done is different than yours. Okay, all right, yeah. But you got to have facts first.
Yep, got to have facts. And then also, to me, a big part of it is something we all have, and that's emotion.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've found, especially, as I get older, I've found that a lot of people, and I'm guilty of it too, I've done it, and, my wife will tell you, I still do it, my kids, we lose control of our emotions. We lose our tempers and all that in debates and in discussions, and, that's a big part of it. So, yes, definitely come to an agreement on what are facts, but definitely keep control of our emotions. You and your friends should not be ex-friends or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's just really sad in my mind. You know what I'm saying? It's just somebody that should be willing to you know, go to war for you and you for him and so on and so forth, and then just for a disagreement and, you know, I don't know what it was about, or not to trivialize it, but it's just like, why? You know what I mean? We're supposed to be friends and all that, and it even extends out to family members. You know, there's family members. I'm sure you both, you know, as well. You and Cliff, there's families that have fallen out and don't speak no more because of politics and stuff. And it's like, look, these politicians are not going to lose a wink of sleep over you and what you think.
That's
Why
right.
in the world are you going to be cussing out your friends and your family and not speaking to people no more and fighting and all this other stuff over people that don't know you? You know, I mean, even if they do know you, you know, even if I was best friends with the president, I'm still not going to, you know, have a fisticuffs falling out with my best friend or my family member over it. It's just not worth it. You know, yes,
Well,
we
Brian,
stand for our beliefs, but I mean, come on, you know.
I think you're right, Brian. And in my case, I lost my temper. I did.
Yeah,
And
and like
I'm usually a pretty even-tempered guy, but I lost my temper.
Yeah,
I admit
we
it.
all do it. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus was the only perfect person to walk the earth. So other than that, we're all struggling to make it there. But yeah, that's what I wanted to call in and say. I don't really get wrapped up in the politics and all that other stuff too much. I just, you know, conservative values and beliefs and all that. But I will not label you or anyone else that doesn't agree with me my enemy and all that other stuff. You know, it's okay. At my age, it's just we can agree to disagree and still be friends. Heck, you know, you might be a Giants fan like me or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't agree politically, but we can sit and watch a game and have fun and all that. And you know, but you know, hopefully, maybe you and your ex-friend will get to reunite one day and be friends again. You know, the relationship may be stronger for it. I don't know. That's what I'm praying for you.
Well,
So,
my friend, thank you for the phone call. Very good call.
you're welcome, sir. Thank you. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Yeah. And that was awesome. I really appreciated that call. Some sanity. I like sanity.
Every once in a while, it occurs.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does. I think that was a super call. He made some really good points. And yes, I did lose my temper. There's no question about that. I'm guilty. Guilty as charged. Now, I'm going to give you this. I want you to get this pencil and paper out again. And I'm going to give you the name of this book because when I tell you about what I found in this article, I don't want you to think that this is some conservative jibber-jabber that I just threw at you. I want you to know it is a work that you can look up. There's a book called Deadly Spin. Deadly Spin by Wendell Potter. I've read the book almost 2 years ago. Wendell Potter was a former corporate executive, I said this earlier, for the healthcare industry. And I'm going to give you some more information about him. We're going to take a little break. And again, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. And I'm going to tell you about what Elizabeth and Bernie are talking about when we come back.
The Howard Insurance Agency in Port St. Lucie reminds you every year around this time we have what's called the open enrollment period, going on now through December 7th for people who receive Medicare. It's a time when you should review your plan, make changes, and switch to another plan if you choose to. There are many cost-saving options, and it can become quite confusing. That's where the Howard Insurance Agency can help. Call Rudy Howard at 343-9878. If you have Medicare insurance questions, he'll be glad to help with no cost for assistance. Remember, at the Howard Insurance Agency, they offer a wide range of insurance products: homeowners, auto coverage, and business insurance. So for all your insurance needs, call Rudy Howard of the Howard Insurance Agency, 343-9878. 343-9878, serving the entire Treasure Coast from their offices at 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Port St. Lucie.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return you to the African American scene with Rudy Howard.
Yes, and please get that book because it opened up my eyes to the healthcare industry in a way that I had never seen it before. And you know, I am in the insurance business. Wendell began his work behind the scenes to defeat the Hillary plan when Bill Clinton came in office, and he gave her the charge to come up with a health plan. And the healthcare industry was very concerned about that, and they put together a cadre of people that went to Washington to lobby and to try to prevent that from happening. And obviously, they were very successful. The second big fight the healthcare industry engaged in, obviously, was the ACA. And in preparation for that fight, they came up with the two phrases that are most often uttered by conservatives: socialized medicine and government-run healthcare. That was a creation from focus groups and meetings with corporate executives to come up with language that would become offensive to the American people. And that did it. And in fact, here's a piece of information, and you can look this up too, and I know some of you will. In 2010, PolitiFact rated government-run healthcare as the lie of the year. Okay, I want you to hear that again now. PolitiFact came up with the lie of the year regarding government-run healthcare. But damage has already been done. For some of you, that has been ground into your brain and it's never going to come out. Socialized medicine and government-run healthcare. Now, let's take this to the next level, which is the other thing my conservative friends often say. Free market is the answer for healthcare, not government intervention. If you allow for free markets, the market will take care of itself. You can't have free market in healthcare. And I know some of you are going to disagree like heck with me. 340-1590. That's 340-1590. But I'm going to tell you why you can't. Let's think about what free market means. When you're talking about a free market, you can look at prices, availability, and that is dictated by the consumer, because the consumer is able to compare prices, evaluate the quality of the product in order to determine how to spend their money. How do you do that with healthcare? See, you've been saying that to people supporting your position as part of your conservative mantra without carefully thinking. But when you think about what free market means, okay, free market means those things I just told you. You can look at a product and you can compare it to another product to determine which one gives you the best value and which one gives you the best price. How do you do that with healthcare? How do you compare the price for your doctors? Are you going to go? Is there any place where you can go to find out how much each doctor in your area charges? I'm listening. Can you tell me, and I've been to all three hospitals at one point or another in this area, can any one of you tell me which hospital costs are for, can you tell me what the costs are for each hospital and your evaluation of the care for each hospital? Which one has the most qualified staff? You don't even have, in most instances, any idea what the cost of your procedure will be. Nada. You have no idea. So if you have no idea how much the procedure will be that you're going to entertain in order to be healthy, how is that free market? Can you explain that to me? Because I'm dumb. I'm just a little dumb guy from New Jersey, Philadelphia. But if you can call up and explain that to me, I would appreciate it. 340-1590. So I'm going to get a shoulder replacement. I got a bad shoulder. Who's going to give me the best value for my shoulder replacement? Come on. See, and you know what? I got to tell you right now. I can feel the smoke coming through my earphones. You are sitting there thinking about this going, man, I have never thought about this that way. He's right. There is no free market health care. There's no such thing. Now, I know in some places they have it. In the case of dental, you might be able to make a decision about which dentist has the best value, because most dentists have to give you a price list. You might even be able to get it with your optometrist to find out who pays for glasses and who has the best quality glasses. You might be able to, I would say even there you might have some free market. But I want you to tell me how you're going to have a free market for your shoulder. Hello? I'm waiting. Okay. Now, what they have done in essence, which is what Wendell Potter put in this article, is they're scaring you to death. They are scaring you to death. That's the objective. That's always been the objective when he was with the other side, to make you afraid to accept the changes that might be in your best interest. They have now hired, and he lets us in on this secret, there's now a PR firm that they've hired to defeat Medicare for All, because they see that as a real threat. So think about that. They've gone through the expense of hiring a PR firm in order to defeat Medicare for All. Now, he goes on to say, Medicare for All will not be too expensive. He said, our medical expenses in this country are far worse than most other countries. And one of the things the ACA did was try to cap administrative costs, which cut down on the amount of bonuses and dollars that can be paid to corporate executives, which really, really pissed off the corporate insurance people, because now you're directly attacking their pocketbook. So when the ACA put a 20% cap that you could only use 20% of all of the premiums collected toward administrative costs, that really made the insurance companies mad. Now, I have said all along, I don't think 20% is unreasonable, but I can understand how the insurance companies would have an objection to somebody making a arbitrary decision about capping their expenses. And we have Russ on line one. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got two questions, really. What government-run anything runs better than a privately run anything or publicly run?
Okay, I'll give you one. The National Flood Program.
Well, there's
the National Flood Program. Without the National Flood Program, you couldn't have a beachfront house. You couldn't have a beachfront condo. So you asked me to give you one. I just gave you one.
One niche.
Huh?
So this one niche thing is the only thing you can come up with that runs better. You think adding a bureaucracy to the already way, way over expensive medical care is going to make it cheaper and better for us?
Well, you're assuming that it would be more expensive and more costly.
How do you add more to it? None of these people in the government are doctors. Not a single one will take your temperature. Not a single one will give you an aspirin. It's just more bureaucracy. All these people need to be paid. How are they going to be paid? Plus the doctor, plus the nurses, plus the technicians that take your blood and whatever. You can't add something to something and make it less expensive.
Okay. Let's work with that for a second. This is part of how you're being manipulated. Currently under
this is pure fact. You talked about facts earlier. How can you add a bureaucracy to something that's already clogged and make it better? Answer that question.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's deal with the first thing. What makes you say it's clogged?
Well, the fact that you have to stand in line and pay more and 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 more. I can't afford health insurance. I try to start my own business. I can't do it. If I hire one away, I can't afford to pay him plus their insurance. It can't happen. The little guy is being screwed totally by all these mandated health care payments. And health care is another thing that annoys me. They do nothing. If you were sick and you had a choice of eating an onion that would make you healthier or taking the medication, the doctor cannot tell you to eat that onion. It's physically against the law for him to tell you to eat that onion. In fact, he'll tell you not to eat the onion because it'll affect the medication. They're in the health care business. They're in the keep you from dying care business.
Well, okay. I see you're very cynical, but let's back up a little bit and talk about what you see as a failing bureaucracy. As you know, if you've been listening to this program, I sell Medicare plans.
Right. I realize it's your backbone. So.
Okay, so now let me explain to you how that works. You have Medicare.
Well, you're a middleman. You've got to get paid.
I know, but let me explain to you how it works, because I think this will put to rest some of the concerns people have about Medicare for all. What happens is when you have Medicare and you become eligible for Medicare, you have a choice. You can get Medicare and a prescription drug plan, or you have a choice of getting a private company to provide your medical benefits, prescription drugs, and other ancillary benefits instead of a straight Medicare plan. So why would I do that? The private companies are incentivized to offer you additional benefits that you can't get with Medicare. And in some cases, they offer you other services you can't get with Medicare. Example, you might get hearing, you might get dental, you might get vision. Now, pay attention to this now, because this is important. If you want straight Medicare, you would get none of that. And then also on a medical advantage plan, you might get a gym membership. So now,
this is all for the same amount of money?
Yes. How about that? How about
that's
that?
A truck. Yeah, that's
You don't you don't believe me?
Lie. That's a straight. I absolutely will not believe you. You couldn't spend the rest of your life trying to convince me that you're going to get the same thing for 10 times more for the same amount of money. And if you do, that just means Medicare is sticking it in a spot you don't want it stuck to begin with.
Sir, the only thing I can tell you is this is how I earn my living. And I can tell you I have people that I have on plans that pay $0 premium. They pay no premium. They get dental, they get vision, they get health club membership, and in some cases, they even get transportation. Some plans offer transportation so that you can go back and forth to the doctor. Now, in exchange, and it's no more money, because this is how it works. You pay $135 a month for your Part B premium. When you get a medical advantage plan, that $135 that you pay goes to the private insurance company. Now, here's what I don't know in precise numbers, but I would bet that the insurance company charges the government the additional costs for administrating your benefits. No different than if the government, let me finish. I want to educate you so you can talk intelligently about this tomorrow. So it's no different than the cost that the government would have to pay to have a claims department or administrative department that would order to handle the benefits that they pay under Medicare. So they probably get a sum of money over and above the $135. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't cost you anything. Now, how about that?
Well,
and you may not, but you may not believe me. You may not believe me.
You just admitted that you've been paying since you were 13 years old. And last week, you said you're probably paying and you don't know it. So you can't tell me, no, but that money's just coming from nowhere. No one anywhere has to pay for it. And if the government's paying for it, you and me are paying for it. I don't care what you say about zero out of pocket. Somebody is paying that extra cash.
Sir, let me just tell you this. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I have sat down in a room with a husband and a wife who were kicking out about $800 a month. I presented him with two plans, and this was early on when I first started, and he said, "What's it going to cost me?" I said, $0. He said, "No, sir." I said, "Look, I'm showing you the paper, what it says. It says 0. He said, "I don't believe you." He's like you, sir. He said, "No, I won't do it. You have to leave because there's something wrong." Okay, I got up and got in my car and I left. But that's what it was. It was 0.
So you're just saying there's magic money coming from nowhere that pays for this stuff.
I'm just telling you
magic money. Nobody has to put in to pay for this.
No, you put in the $135 under your Part B benefits under your Medicare.
That won't even pay for a single visit to a doctor.
Listen,
you have anything done, that doesn't even go halfway to paying the doctor's cost.
It's not costing
so
you.
Then the other part comes taxes. Somebody's paying it somewhere.
Well, you have to pay it.
Doctors aren't working for free.
No, you're paying a copay. So say, for instance, let's go back to that same example. Say you get on a private plan like I won't even name a company because I represent too many of them. But say you get on and so for a primary care doctor, you have a $10 copay. So you go to the doctor, you have to pay $10, and then the doctor bills the company for the difference. There's no difference in what would happen with Medicare, except that with Medicare, you would have 80% instead of $10. So say you're going to get prescription drugs. You go and get your prescription drugs, there's usually a preliminary deductible of $150 or thereabouts. And then after that, you pay a percentage of your drugs. It's not free.
You keep going back to the same magic payment. They don't give this stuff away. I don't care how zero you can, somebody somewhere is paying for it. And if it's coming from Magic Land, that's probably government, which means you and me paying our taxes is paying for this stuff. Now, if everybody's getting this stuff for free, there'll be lines from here to Stewart waiting for their free handout.
No, they won't be. No, they won't be. You know why? Because there's a lot of people out there like you that just won't believe it. That's number one. And number two, there's a lot of people out there that are afraid of it because people have told them all kinds of things. And it's gotten better over the years. When I first started, I would have to sit down and try to explain for 15 minutes why this is not a scam. But I haven't had to do that now in a couple of years. But it's real. And what I'm trying to tell you is you've been hijacked. You've been schemed. You've been conned.
Now, you drank the Kool-Aid. You can't. If a doctor needs $100 to do this single thing that he has to do, and you go and give him $90 is coming from somewhere, or he's not going to do it. No doctor is going to work for $10. I guarantee you that. That $90 is coming from somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well. All right. What I suggest you do is, listen, I pride myself on being factual and very knowledgeable about things. So why don't you, when you hang up the phone, do some internet research and see whether or not I'm lying to you. And if you think I'm lying to you, call me back next week and give me the business.
I don't think you're lying. I just think you're blissful ignorant. You still have not admitted that doctor has to get $100 for it. But somewhere you've got magic money coming from somewhere that isn't my pocket. It's just paying. If the doctor gets $100, and there's $90 of it is magic. Where does this magic money come from?
Okay.
It comes from taxpayers. You flat out won't admit it because it goes against every grain of your being.
The mantra of the talking point.
That's not. Well, I got to go. It's the end of the hour. Thank you for calling, sir. Please feel free to call back again. People, thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. I hope you learned something tonight. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
I warned you about this show. Now you've heard it. You've been there. You've done that. Welcome aboard, and we're looking forward to having you with us again next week. The African American Scene, presented each week by Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie, hosted by Rudy Howard. Archives of this show are on YouTube under WPSL TV. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.